Well, I wanted to kind of close things up here with just, I guess, kind of a bunch of little tips, just little things that I found inside of Photoshop CS5 that are just different from previous versions. Some of them are improvements, some of them are additions, things like that. Let's say start off here with actually one of my favorite, which is, let's say you have the zoom tool selected. What you have here is called Scrubby Zoom. Okay, so normally you click. And you click and you click and it zooms in, and if you Option or Alt click and click, it zooms out. Well, Scrubby Zoom means that you can click and then scrub, just drag to the right or drag to the left. Okay, so click and then drag to the left, zooms out, drag to the right, zooms in. You can see it's just basically, it's what they call scrubby, because as you drag to the right or left, something is supposed to happen. In this example, it is zooming. The other one here is, let's go ahead and I'm going to change this image. Normally it doesn't happen this way. The image starts as 16-bit, but this is a 16-bit image. This would happen to you a lot if you came from Camera Raw or came from Lightroom, where you were working on a RAW file. You had it set to edit in Photoshop as 8-bit or 16-bit, in this case 16-bit. What used to happen before CS5 is if you went up to the File menu and you went down to Save As, and you tried to go to the or to the JPEG option, it didn't exist here. Okay, because it was a 16-bit image and you can't save a 16-bit image as a JPEG. So what Adobe did, and it was confusing to people because you normally would expect to see JPEG inside there. So what they did is they added JPEG, and what's automatically going to happen is it'll convert it over to 8-bit for you, knowing that you want to save a JPEG and that it needs to be 8-bit. The other one here is I've got a couple of different images open here, so you can see that one of the things that we'll do here, if you come up to the File menu, you go down to Close All, is you could always close all the images, but the problem is it would pop up this dialog box for every single thing. So what you can choose here is Apply to All, and let's say I don't want to save. I just want Photoshop, if I've got 10 images closed, I don't want to save them all. I don't want to have to click on Don't Save for all of them, so you can just Apply to All. All right, so as we're moving on down the line, this is just a little one, and it's one of those things that's actually very difficult to demo, but when I saw it on the list, I kind of said, I was like, yeah, that happens to me a lot, which is under the File menu, when you go to Save As, it's actually going to save as to the original folder of where you were working in or where the image came from, okay? Because a lot of times I've gone to Save As and it's Save As in some random folder, okay? A lot of times it would revert to my desktop or wherever, but it's actually going to save as to the original folder, one of the images that you're working on came from, or where an image came from. Save As will go straight back into that folder. Okay, another one. You can control smart object placement. And I showed this in a previous video when we talked about layers, but if you go to your preferences here, okay, and this is going to be under the edit menu on a PC, you go down here to general, you'll see here, if you were to place an image into Photoshop, or you were to drag an image into Photoshop, it's going to get put inside as a smart object by default, but you can change that by coming in there and turning that option off. So if I were to go to File and come down here to Place and choose an image, it would automatically be placed in as a smart object, but now there's a preference for you to go in there and change that. Just a tiny little thing here, if you're in the Adjustments panel, and let's say you go with the Hue Saturation adjustment, if you press Shift Return, it's automatically going to highlight that very first field for you. Okay, so you can actually just start using your up and down arrow keys without ever even going near your mouse to start adjusting things. Another one is if you go to the pop-out menu for the Adjustments panel, which is this little icon on the top right-hand corner. If you click on that, you see that there's an option here to auto-select the target adjustment tool. Okay, and not every single adjustment has this tool, but hue, saturation, and curves do. So when you click on that, you'll see like I can put it over the blues, and I can do crazy funky things to it, which I really don't want to in this example here. But if I turn on auto select target adjustment tool, as soon as I go into the hue saturation adjustment layer, this is already going to be targeted, and I can start working. I don't have to come over here and click on it. Kind of just a small thing, but hey, you add up all the small things, it becomes a little bit bigger than that. And then the last thing here is, let's take a look, go down here to Window, go to Brushes, and you'll see here it opens up the brush palette. Well, I can toggle between this big brush palette, which has all the different settings and shape dynamics and scattering and all that, I can toggle between brush presets as well, which is just going to show me the brush presets. So all I got to do here is just click that little icon and it just switches back and forth between the two. Okay. And one last thing that I'll leave you with is if you come up here to the window menu and you go down to workspace, there's a workspace called New in CS5. So when you switch over to that workspace and you start to go up here through the menus, you're going to see things highlighted in blue. All right. And as you go through all these different menus, you can see where the new features are and the new things inside of Photoshop CS5. So if you're ever wondering, hey, I know I heard of that, or let me just check out what's new inside of here, just switch over to this workspace and just take a look at anything that's highlighted in blue and you'll be able to see it. And then if you want to get back, which generally you're going to want to because you don't want to stay in that workspace, just click on Essentials or Default. That'll take you right back to the original. So again, just, little things that I found as working through Photoshop that are different, changed, new, whatever, that kind of just, when you add them all up, it just kind of makes a smoother experience, and they've gone in and addressed some of the things like the 8-bit, 16-bit thing. That happens a lot, and I answer that question a lot. Somebody opens up that raw file into Photoshop and they can't figure out why it won't save as a JPEG. That's one of those things where it makes perfect sense. Just automatically convert it for them so that we can save it as a JPEG. All right, well, folks, hope you enjoyed. I'll talk to you again soon.